Welcome back to the War on the motherfucking game. I am General Johnson. Shout out to the fuck Neil Strauss army. Shout out to the people sending stuff in. Shout out to everybody supporting the cause on various message boards. Fuck Neil Strauss. The summer not to be Strauss is on, and we're not stopping. So today, I have a fun little rant for you guys that Neil Strauss posted, and it's a cornucopia of hypocritical thoughts, actions, and delusion. So first, my favorite part is if you want to read this on Neil's website, you have to log in. Right, you have to actually join his website, as you can see, because this site is for Neil's readers only, not for the media. And after a press leak with serious consequences, we've had to restrict access. So to make sure you're here for the right reason, your own success, we're going to make sure we have to get your email address. That is called internet marketing, my friends. That is very good internet marketing. It's very smart. You gave a good reason for harnessing email addresses, but that is bullshit. Which press leak had serious consequences, Neil? Support your argument. Support facts. Where was the press leak? So anyway, let's start breaking down Neil's rant.
A few months ago, I was going to write an angry post. I've been trying to hold it in, but can't anymore.
Okay, this post was written in 2010.
The seduction community is dead. It's been replaced by the seduction industry.
I would argue that there never really was much of a seduction community. The word community is kind of a misnomer in this area because a community suggests that people interact with each other and that people generally are striving for the overall good. The problem is seduction is a competition. Every girl that someone else gets is a girl that I'm not getting, and if you look at it in strictly Darwinian terms, every chance to pass on our resources is what our brains want to do. So the seduction community has never really been a community. It's been a place where guys who were good with women came to brag and get validation, like Zan and guys like that who never really took advice but came and just gave advice. It was also a place for a lot of guys who really are messed up, myself included, who, didn't want to go to therapy or, talk to their friends about this or didn't have the friends to talk about this. So it became a last-ditch resource for the guys who couldn't get girls and had nowhere else to go. And of course, when you have needy people who need help, you're going to have an industry crop up to help those, starting with Ross Jeffries in the 90s. The idea that there's a seduction industry and that it's happened recently is retarded. And he talks about how Ross Jeffries was doing seminars and then Mystery Method, and, they weren't in it for financial reasons. They were there to share knowledge. No, they were there to get validated. And overall, the shared body of knowledge was something that every PUA regularly added to. That was done in about 2005. What happened was Mystery's Lounge turned into something called Underscore when Chris Odom and aka Love Drop and Savoy basically wanted to create a new lounge on Mystery Method for students of boot camp. So they moved Underscore over to chrisodom.com years ago. And no one was really posting there. Back when I finally joined, this is nerdy, but I really wanted to get into Underscore because it was like the best board and there were all these archives and stuff. And when I finally got on, no one was really contributing. This was like 2005, probably middle of 2005, maybe late 2005. And there wasn't really much of a discussion. So this whole idea that there was knowledge being added to basically ended with the fucking rings on fingers routine in like 2004. But Neil said that now things have splintered and the intense competition for the AFC dollar has been negative. Where experts once sat around and discussed new techniques, they now sit around and discuss better ways to manipulate the men who want to learn this. You mean like pretending there was a media leak in order to harvest email addresses? Kind of like that? Or hiring guys like Frank Kern, who are professional marketers and cost thousands of dollars, like you did with the Annihilation Method back in 2006 or 2007. he's getting emails about how guys, got bitter and are on hater websites. Really what's happened is a bunch of people have been telling you that you suck because your advice didn't work for them because your advice is bad. So here's how the seduction industry, according to Neil Strauss, is hurting men. By the blind leading the blind. You mean like the guys you pulled off of your forum and made instructors? You mean guys who never had to prove anything in field but just got to write routines and field reports, and that's how you picked instructors? But the blind leading the blind is guys who take one workshop or seminar. Well, I mean, at least those guys actually got out in the field. So that's the first hypocritical thing. Neil Strauss talks about the blind leading the blind, but has, in my opinion, the worst instructors in the industry. By creating false distinctions as marketing tools, direct game, this, that, or the other. Well, you only teach indirect game, Neil. So it's kind of, there is a distinction, and it's not a marketing tool, and it's something that you do. You talk about never displaying interest. So someone who does display interest and gets success, which you kind of try to brush off as a virgin. Anyone who's a virgin, you shouldn't be listening to their ideas about game anyway, Neil, and I'm sure you don't. But false marketing distinctions, there are a lot of distinctions. Everything meets in the middle, but there are certain philosophical distinctions, such as you don't recommend approaching girls when they're by themselves, which is fucking retarded. Number 3, naturals teaching unnaturals. It's easy for these. I don't think there's a lot of naturals teaching in the community. There's a lot of guys who try to pretend to be naturals, including your buddy Mystery, who begins his seminar with, "I'm what you call a natural because I learned this stuff myself." But, again, the obsession with the naturals is kind of stupid. And again, a delineation. So by Neil delineating that there are naturals and unnaturals, he's basically making the point that he just made, creating false marketing distinctions as marketing tools, completely moot, because you're engaging in the same kind of distinctions, you hypocritical bald asshole. Number 4, by a deliberate misunderstanding of the principles. Yeah. Here he talks about how people talk about, confusing the message with the means. I would say that when you go on TV, like Mystery did, and you talk about how you're the best pickup artist in the world and you dress like a retard, people are going to think, oh, dressing up like a retard is what you need to do. So this is less a deliberate misunderstanding than the fact that Eric does a lot of shit that is unique to him, and people are not smart enough to figure that out. People who want a cult following. Here's where Neil Strauss gets really, really, really hypocritical. Many men get into the game not necessarily to meet women, but to feel socially accepted. Kind of like Neil Strauss. And once they start to get praise and followers, it becomes a drug addiction. Kind of like Neil Strauss. The problem is that one doesn't grow by acquiring sycophants, but by hanging around those who are better than oneself and learning from them. Who does Neil hang out with that's, more successful than him? Seems like Neil hangs out with a lot of guys who basically are internet marketers like David D. or Sean Stevenson, who you can see him at his birthday party, and guys who help him make money, but no one who's really another Rolling Stone writer. You don't see him hanging out with Jonathan Franzen, mostly because Jonathan Franzen probably don't want nothing to do with his ass, but you don't see Neil hanging out with better writers or anything like that. So, yeah. By pretending as if women want a different type of game every year. Well, I mean, there are definitely something to that, but isn't Neil Strauss teaching natural game now? Doesn't Style Life talk about how to be a natural? By getting obsessed with scene politics instead of one's own self-improvement. That I actually do agree with. The scene politics, including me bashing on Neil Strauss, don't help you get better. But me bashing on Neil Strauss actually does help you get better because it keeps you away from his smarmy, pretending, bad advice giving ass. So, as you can see, those of you giving comments about how I'm so emotional and I'm attacking people, your idol Neil Strauss does it too. But he just does it in a much more hypocritical way. So maybe I'll come on here and tell you guys that you should all be nice to people, even though I'm a big asshole. And, I'll tell you guys that, you don't have to be funny to get girls, even though most of my game is based on making girls laugh. And I'll just lie, because obviously that's what you guys want if these kind of manifestos by Neil Strauss are interesting to you guys and not just the biggest case of the kettle calling the pot black I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, leave comments. Tell me that you hate me and that Neil Strauss is awesome, or vice versa. And by all means, go check out this rant, because in the few minutes I have here, I didn't really get to do the full psychological treatment to it. There's a lot of stuff where Neil is just revealing his neuroses one by one. So it's interesting. Check it out. And I'll be back next week to continue the summer not to be Strauss. Talk to you soon.